job. That is not what America is all about.
The president is going to Davos to speak to world leaders about investing in the United States, moving businesses to the United States, hiring American workers.
Our players were all trying to do what's in the best interest of communities that they live in, that they care about, and trying to improve them. And I admire that a great deal.
Good morning to you. A live shot from the streets of New York City. You're watching Fox and Friends First on this Wednesday morning, hump day. You made it midway through the week. I'm Heather Childers. Straight to our Fox News alert for you, though. A bombshell admission from the FBI, raising some brand new questions about the Russia collusion probe's credibility. This as brand new evidence reportedly surfaces proving that there is, in fact, an anti-Trump society, possibly. Griff Jenkins live in D.C. with the breaking details. Good morning, Griff.
Good morning, Heather. It's a remarkable look behind the scenes at the inner workings at the FBI. These new text messages suggesting that 2 days after Special Counsel Robert Mueller was appointed, now demoted FBI agent Peter Strzok expressed hesitation to FBI lawyer Lisa Page from joining the investigation because of his gut sense. Strzok writes on May 19th, "You and I both know the odds are nothing. If I thought it was likely, I'd be there, no question. I hesitate in part because of my gut sense and concern there's no big there." And in another revealing text, references unfinished business using MYE, or mid-year exam, the FBI's code for the Clinton email case. For me, in this case, I personally have a sense of unfinished business, unleashed it with MYE, need to fix it and finish it. Strzok and Page, who were romantically involved, are under fire for trading numerous anti-Trump messages. You recall, and now the president is weighing in on what is a 5-month gap of missing text messages. President tweeting, "Where are the 50,000 important text messages between FBI lovers Lisa Page and Peter Strzok?" Blaming Samsung. This as Senator Ron Johnson, who released the string of messages between Strzok and Page, also says the FBI officials talk about a secret society within days of President Trump's election.
Corruption, more than bias, but corruption at the highest levels of the FBI and that secret society. We have an informant that's talking about a group that were holding secret meetings off-site. There's so much smoke here. There's so much suspicion.
Let's stop there. A secret society, secret meetings off-site of the Justice Department.
Correct.
And you have an informant saying that.
Yes.
Across the aisle, Democrats like Chuck Schumer, though, he says this is all a distraction.
I think there has been a great deal of activity on the other side intending to either divert attention from Mueller or even stand in his way.
No, the FBI blames a technical problem for the missing messages and will not comment on further attempts to recover them, although we can expect several congressional committees to press harder, Heather, because there may be some conflict between what the Department of Justice's Inspector General says happened to those texts and what the FBI's official line is on it.
Yeah, I have a feeling this is just the beginning of this. Griff Jenkins, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Well, Republican lawmakers say that the texts are more evidence of political bias, as President Trump calls the missing messages one of the biggest stories in a long time. Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan says that all the evidence piling up against Peter Strzok is just too overwhelming to be a coincidence.
The central player in this entire drama, Sean, is the guy you identified, Peter Strzok. The first batch of text messages, he talks about the insurance policy in case the American people make Donald Trump president. This latest batch, he talks about unfinished business. I unleashed it during the mid-year exam, which was the code name they had for the Clinton investigation. Now he says I need to finish it and fix it. 4 minutes after that text message, he sends another message to Lisa Page where he says an investigation that leads to impeachment. If that doesn't go to their entire motive, their entire plan, what they had in store, and the animus they had for President Trump, I don't know what does. And never forget, as you pointed out in your monologue, Peter Strzok was the key guy in the Clinton investigation. Interviewed Mills, interviewed Abedin, interviewed Clinton. He was the guy who changed the exoneration.
And all of this as the mainstream media continues to ignore the growing controversy. ABC News completely ignoring the story altogether, with both NBC and CBS barely referencing the text within other stories. Well, since the jaw-dropping text messages surfaced, GOP lawmakers are now calling into question the credibility of James Comey's testimony, specifically the timeline of when the former FBI director decided not to press charges against Hillary Clinton in the private email probe.
Director, did you make the decision not to recommend criminal charges relating to classified information before or after Hillary Clinton was interviewed by the FBI on July the 2nd?
After. But if colleagues of ours believe I am lying about when I made this decision, please urge them to contact me privately so we can have a conversation about this.
Well, Politico reporting that Congressman John Ratcliffe may be contacting Comey about returning to the hot seat. But President Trump will put America first when he heads to Switzerland later today. The commander-in-chief attending the World Economic Forum, where he will meet with world leaders and business executives pushing to stop unfair trade and protecting our economy.
America first is not America alone. We are open for business. We're a competitive country. The president is going to Davos to speak to world leaders about investing in the United States, moving businesses to the United States, hiring American workers, changing the direction of our economy to be one of the biggest and best and most efficient economies in the world.
Well, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin and White House advisor and son-in-law Jared Kushner also heading on that overseas trip. But President Trump blasting Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer after he takes his promised border wall deal off the table. Todd Pyro here now with those new developments in the immigration battle. Good morning, Todd.
Good morning to you, Heather. If you fell asleep early last night, you may have missed it. The president not very happy with the Senate Minority Leader, tweeting this around 11 p.m. Quote, crying Chuck Schumer fully understands, especially after his humiliating defeat, that if there is no wall, there is no DACA. We must have security and safety and security, in fact, together with a strong military for our great people, end quote. This all comes after Schumer offered, then rescinded a deal to support border wall funding in return for an immigration package that protects dreamers, coming on the heels of pushback from liberals. A Schumer aide confirmed the leader withdrew his offer of $25 billion in funding made during negotiations with the president on the government spending bill on Friday. And after a 3-day government shutdown, Democrats agreed to reopen the federal government after Republicans assured them the Senate would soon consider legislation to deal with those dreamers.
We're going to have to start on a new basis, and the wall offer is off the table.
If Senator Schumer takes something off the table, I'm sure we'll take something off the table.
Director of Legislative Affairs Mark Short echoing the mixed commitment from Democrats to get a deal done.
Seems like negotiating with Leader Schumer is like negotiating with Jell-O. One day he's for the border wall, the next day he's against it. We've shown a willingness to negotiate. They've shown a willingness to negotiate. We're going to get a deal.
Meantime, Press Secretary Sarah Sanders said the president opposes the Flake-Graham-Durbin immigration proposal because it does not meet the benchmarks set out by the White House on border security, chain migration, the visa lottery, and DACA. Latest deadline to get immigration done, Heather? About 2 weeks away. We shall see.
All right, Todd Pyro, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Well, a tight-knit community ripped apart when a student opens fire at school, killing 2 classmates. And mourners in Benton, Kentucky, packing into a church to pay their respects just hours after police say a 15-year-old boy sprayed his crowded high school with bullets, leaving 2 teenagers dead and more than a dozen injured. A witness said that he knew exactly what he was doing and looked determined as he fired.
I just, I took off. I started running. I was just scared for my life. This is terrifying. And it's still it's like something out of the movies. It doesn't feel real.
Well, the suspect seen walking out of the school surrounded by police. You can see him there. He faces murder charges, but a motive is still unknown. 3 of those students remain hospitalized this morning. And this, by the way, marks the 11th school shooting since the new year. Well, the bodies of 5 workers who went missing in a fiery explosion have been recovered. Oklahoma search crews uncovering them in the spot where the fire started. And they had to wait until the area cooled off and it was stable before going in. A report suggests that the men were killed while trying to shut down the well. 17 employees, though, escaped the blaze with minor injuries. And the U.S. is blasting Russia for allowing Syria's latest chemical weapons attack. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson speaking out at a conference in Paris on ways to curb the violence. And at the UN, U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, saying that Russia is, quote, running from the facts.
There is simply no denying that Russia, by shielding its Syrian ally, has breached its commitments to the United States as a framework guarantor.
Russia has the audacity to lecture this Security Council about how to stop the use of chemical weapons. Russia, all on its own, killed the mechanism we had specifically tasked to identify those responsible for using chemical weapons in Syria.
Well, dozens of people in Syria being treated for chlorine gas exposure symptoms after an attack on Monday, the 4th this year. And Marines giving the final salute to the first ever enlisted female Marine to retire from active duty. We are proud to bring the title of United States Marine. Master Sergeant Catherine Murray was a fierce supporter of the Marines until the day she died, serving for nearly 20 years after enlisting back in 1943. She was assigned to motor transport duties until 1946, where she
saw more manifest bias against President Trump all the way through the election into the transition.
And the other big question, what happened to months of messages between Strzok and FBI lawyer Lisa Page? Helping us to put the pieces together is Republican strategist John Jordan. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Appreciate it.
Happy to be here, Heather.
So as we discussed, let's bring up that text once again from Strzok where he says, you know, no big there. And I ask you, as people can read that for themselves at home, can we trust the FBI? Let's just begin right there.
Well, let's look at a little history here first. The last time America really faced a politicized FBI was under J. Edgar Hoover. And that was a larger-than-life cult of personality type run organization where the presidents feared. This time it's a little different. This time it's comprised of dozens, maybe hundreds of unelected bureaucrats that are part of the swamp in Washington that really are part of a culture that's enabled them to think that they're above the law. Now, we've seen a lot of these emails going back and forth and the text. What the big news that's really happened here is the missing text, because for the first time through all the smoke, we are seeing the tongues of actual criminal potential wrongdoing that's demonstrable. Under Section 18 USC 50.
The timing of those missing texts is key as well.
Absolutely. The Inspector General of the DOJ told Congress that they had all November of 2016 and July of 2017. Then last week, miraculously, they didn't have and May 17th of 2017. It's significant because that covers the firing of Comey, of General Flynn, the inauguration, the transition, all of these key events, and then magically, the FBI is able to begin recovering these texts the very day, May 17th, that Robert Mueller was appointed special counsel. Now, under Section 18 USC 1519, it is a federal crime punishable by up to 20 years in prison for the destruction, alteration, or interference of documents, electronic or otherwise, pursuant to an investigation. And this is a paper trail electronic type crime that can be uncovered when Verizon or AT&T are subpoenaed, or when the FBI, or there's a forensic examination of these
now
phones.
They're saying,
so this case can largely be made.
They're saying, though, that it's Samsung, that that's a technical glitch, that's what happened, and that there was no, they didn't delete these text messages. They haven't disappeared on purpose. Before you move on to that, I want to take a closer look, though, at a couple more of the texts that we do have. This is where Strzok's talking about the unfinished business. This was 2 days after Mueller's appointment that you were just talking about. He says, for me in this case, I personally have a sense of unfinished business. I unleashed it with MYE. Now I need to fix it and finish it. And MYE is the code name. That's how they refer to the Clinton email investigation. And then this next text, this was actually, we have a tweet from President Trump that was referencing what you said. Where are the 50,000 important text messages between the FBI lovers, Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, blaming Samsung? So you have blame there being put on Samsung, and then you have these additional text messages that have been released so far from Strzok. I'm interested in seeing the one about the secret society, if that one will be released.
Well, absolutely. The secret society text, as well as the text earlier, prior to the when they went dark, about how they were talking about making text disappear. Those go to intent to destroy these texts or this information. Now, I know it's a little early in the morning for math, but the laws of cumulative probability that magically over the most important period of time, and then the text messages are magically recoverable May 17th, that stretches believability. But on the other hand, you have to prove it. So I think why don't Congress needs to subpoena Verizon, AT&T, whoever the carrier was, get hold of the phones. I mean, this can be easily untangled, but it's very difficult to believe because it's a highly improbable set of coincidences.
Highly improbable set of coincidences. I like that. This is a good way to end it. John, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate you going through it for us.
My pleasure.
Well, the time now is about 20 minutes after the top of the hour. North Korea becoming a nuclear threat, no longer an if but when. The global arms race about to begin amid shocking warnings from the CIA. Coming up. Welcome back. Outrage is growing after the NFL censors an AmVets Super Bowl ad. You can see the ad here. Simply says #PleaseStand, encouraging football fans to honor our nation's heroes. This, as the NFL commissioner says, he's proud of the players for protesting. Kelly Wright is live for us in Washington, D.C. with the league's latest move. Good morning, Kelly.
Heather, good morning to you as well. Let's get right to it. Here's a look at the ad, which you've just shown. It shows the American flag with the words, "Please stand," next to it. The NFL concluded the ad was too political and rejected it. At AmVets post number 6 in St. Louis, veterans are not happy.
All we're asking is for an ad, "Please stand." It's not political. It's just asking, please stand. They've allowed it to become a controversy by doing so. It shouldn't be controversial. Let the ad in.
In a statement to NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, AmVets National Commander Marion Polk says this: freedom of speech works both ways. We respect the rights of those who choose to protest, as these rights are precisely what our members have fought and in many cases died for. But imposing corporate censorship to deny that same right to those veterans who have secured it for us all is reprehensible and totally beyond the pale. Amid the controversy, Goodell says he admires NFL players for their protests.
At the core, our players were all trying to do what's in the best interest of communities that they live in, that they care about, and trying to improve them. And I admire that a great deal. I wish all our players were standing for the national anthem. I always did, and I always told them that. But we really took the time to understand them. And I think we could use a little bit more of that in our society and try to get to a better place.
The NFL says it accepted another veterans group ad that says "We stand for veterans." Also, Goodell announced in that interview an initiative called Let's Listen Together. It involves owners and players working to bring unity to social and racial issues through helping communities improve education, community education development, and community and police relations, the criminal justice system, and economic development. Heather?
All right, Kelly Wright joining us live this morning. Thank you, Kelly. Right. And we want to know, what do you think about the NFL's decision not to run the anthem protest Super Bowl ad? Let us know on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I sent this out on Twitter last night. We've already gotten a lot of responses. You can also email us at foxfriendfirst@foxnews.com, and we'll share them a little bit later. At the time now is about 26 minutes after the top of the hour. Talking about the Taliban, President Trump launching an aerial assault on Afghanistan as terrorists killed multiple Americans in a recent bombing attack. The strategy to put a stranglehold on the terror group, starting with their cash flow. And from prison to the polls, Florida on the verge of allowing ex-cons the right to vote, the controversial bill now being considered. Welcome back with a Fox News alert for you. Some brand new text messages between two anti-Trump FBI officials seeming to dismiss the Russia probe. Now demoted FBI agent Peter Strzok texting FBI lawyer and his lover Lisa Page about his hesitation to join special counsel Robert Mueller's team, saying this: "You and I both know the odds are nothing. If I thought it was likely, I'd be there, no question. I hesitate in part because of my gut sense and concern. There's no big there. 50,000 texts between Strzok and Page have gone missing. Fox News contributor Sarah Carter says all of this is just the start.
This is just the tip of the spear, Sean. Look, right now we have Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, but they were reporting to someone. We're focused on them with good reason, but think about the people they were reporting to. I want to know what Andrew McCabe, who's the deputy director, was texting to others, how he was involved in it, James Rubicki, who just left the FBI, and now we know McCabe is leaving in March. There is so much more to this story.
Well, Senator Ron Johnson also saying that he has an informant that backs up the existence of an FBI secret society working to undermine President Trump. And a brand new chilling warning from the CIA. North Korea won't rest until it can launch multiple attacks on Americans.
The frequency that they have tests which are materially successful has also improved, putting them ever closer to a place where Americans can be held at risk. The logical next step would be to develop an arsenal. That's the very mission set that President Trump has directed the government to figure out a way to make sure it never occurs.
Well, CIA Director Mike Pompeo says that he believes that Kim Jong-un could also use nuclear weapons to take over the entire Korean peninsula. He insists that the Trump administration is working to find a diplomatic solution. We are now learning multiple Americans were killed and injured in that deadly weekend attack on a Kabul hotel. The Taliban claiming responsibility. This as President Trump ramps up the fight against the terror group, ordering up to 1,000 more troops to Afghanistan. And for the first time in over 3 years, calling up the legendary A-10 Thunderbolt jets. Here now to weigh in is Fox News Pentagon producer Lucas Tomlinson. Lucas, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me, Heather.
So how significant is this move to bring in these jets?
Well, it's very significant, Heather. As you mentioned, these A-10s have not been to Afghanistan since 2014. Ground troops love this jet. It has a 30-millimeter Gatling gun. It's designed to loiter over the battlefield for hours, provide close air support to troops. It also shows the direction which Defense Secretary Mattis, the Pentagon, and the Trump administration are going. Up to 1,000 more U.S. troops are coming in this spring to raise the number to about 15,000 troops. But this jet is, it's very important.
Yeah, and it was originally headed to Turkey, right?
Correct. These A-10s, it was a reserve squadron from Whiteman Air Force Base, Missouri, was originally going to Incirlik Air Force Base in Turkey for the ISIS fight, but because of the success against ISIS in Iraq and Syria, the Pentagon brass deemed that these jets were more needed in Afghanistan to ramp up the fight against the Taliban.
Now let's take a look at the numbers, the troop levels that have increased in Afghanistan under President Trump. January 2017, over 8,000, 8,500. September 2017, 11,500. November 2017, 14,000. January 2018, 15,000 have been announced.
And that's still a far cry from the nearly 100,000 U.S. troops that were in Afghanistan back when then President Obama ordered a surge of troops to Afghanistan. In 2010, 2011, you had about 100,000 troops. What's really interesting, Heather, is last year the U.S. military dropped more bombs in Afghanistan than any time since 2012 when you had 100,000 troops on the ground. But as you mentioned, the troop numbers are about double what they were when President Trump took office, but still a far cry from what they used to be.
And Lucas, anything additional to report on the multiple Americans that we've learned that were killed in this latest attack at this hotel in Kabul?
Well, the State Department is not confirming publicly reports out of the region which say at least 3 Americans were killed or wounded at that hotel, that rampage in Kabul, at a very popular hotel frequented by Westerners. It certainly speaks to the security situation in Kabul that one of the reasons more troops are going to Afghanistan is to shore up this Afghan security force, which has been decimated by the Taliban in the past few years. And just today, Heather, there was another attack on a children's aid organization in eastern Afghanistan, which killed at least 1 child and wounded others.
Yeah, important for people to remember. We have troops all over the world, and our thanks go out to them. Lucas, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Nice to have you with us.
Thanks for having me, Heather.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
This is scary stuff there. Turning now to some extreme weather. The dramatic video of a packed school bus sliding backwards on an icy road. The bus slamming into a car before coming to a stop in Massachusetts. No one was injured, though, we can tell you amazingly there. That's a good thing. And then in Pennsylvania, ice jams causing flooding and closing down streets. The Coast Guard now working to break up those large chunks of ice in Connecticut. And more cold weather is on the way. Meteorologist Adam Klotz is here with that forecast. Good morning, Adam. Just when I thought things maybe were going to warm up.
Yeah, we're going to be bouncing back and forth here a little bit. There are spots where it's a little bit warmer, but because of that system you were just showing some of those videos from, a little bit colder air beginning to move in. So you're looking back into the Midwest. The temperatures falling back down into the 20s. 12 degrees currently in Minneapolis. That's that colder air that's beginning to funnel in. Here's the system we were just talking about. Most of it beginning to lift farther off towards the north. So just some lingering light snow showers across portions of the mid-Atlantic here early this morning. That's going to continue to clear off as we see here in our future radar. So what's coming up next? Well, here's your forecasted highs today, Heather. Back in the middle of the country, those are the folks enjoying it. Look at that, 50 degrees is a high in Kansas City today. So there are spots out there where it's going to be a little bit warmer. Heather.
All right, Adam Klotz, live for us. Nice to have you with us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, a safe place to shoot up. The city adding a supervised injection facility. Well, it was one of President Trump's most coveted campaign promises.
I will build a great, great wall on our southern border, and I will have Mexico pay for that wall.
So will Mexico pay for the wall? The former Mexican president has an answer up next. And more proof the president is making America win again. The big boost for Disney employees, thanks to President Trump. Come back, voting rights could soon be given back to more than 1 million convicted felons. The organization called Floridians for Fair Democracy successfully collecting the necessary amounts of signatures needed to get an initiative on the ballot. Well, if approved by 60% of voters, felons who have completed their sentence will be allowed to vote in the state. Well, those convicted of murder or sexual offenses will continue to be barred from voting. And former Mexican President Vicente Fox once again blasting President Trump's proposal for Mexico to pay for the southern border wall. In an interview with our very own Sean Hannity, Fox retracts his previous negative stance on the wall, but stands firm on rejecting the bill.
We're not against the wall. It's good if you want to build the wall. What we're against is Mexico paying for that F wall. Who came with that stupid idea?
Well, President Trump first proposing the idea on the campaign trail. You'll remember that. And President Trump rolling out the red carpet, set to welcome French President Emmanuel Macron to his first state dinner. White House officials say that the event is currently planned for April 24th. Macron's visit will feature a formal arrival ceremony, we're told, a 21-gun salute, and a joint press conference. President Trump was Macron's guest in July for Bastille Day in Paris. And now to Fox Business Alert for you. More proof that President Trump is making America win again.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning.
J.P. Morgan Chase raising wages and adding thousands of new jobs. Tracy Carrasco from our sister network, Fox Business, here with how the company is crediting the president's tax cut for their business boom. Good morning, Tracy.
Yes, good morning, Heather. J.P. Morgan also saying it's the improved economic performance in addition to the sweeping changes to the U.S. tax code. So they're going to be hiring 4,000 new employees in about 20 new markets up to that'll take about 5 years to do that. They're going to open up 400 new branches as well. And then their current employees, about 22,000 of them, will see a little bump in their pay. Those are the hourly paid employees. They're going to be making between $15 and $18 now. That's up from $12 and $16.50. So pretty good news for them.
Yeah, and some good news too. Mickey Mouse is feeling a little generous.
Yes.
Giving out, what, $1,000 cash bonuses?
Yes, $1,000 to hourly salary employees and non-executive U.S. employees. So that's also part of the tax reform. 125,000 of those Disney employees. They're also going to be investing $50 million into an education fund that will help about 88,000 hourly employees pay for some of their tuition costs.
Yeah, it's great to hear all of these businesses doing these great things for their employees.
More and more of them.
Yeah. All right, so get a free Chick-fil-A chicken biscuit this morning.
Yes, so good news to start your day. Chick-fil-A, participating Chick-fil-A restaurants giving away that free spicy chicken biscuit this morning from the open until 10:30 a.m. So you've got to check which locations, but some of them in Houston, I know Virginia Beach, they're going to be giving away those breakfast sandwiches.
I just want to know, what about the one in Times Square?
I don't know. I'll get back to you. I'll let you know.
Find out. Thank you very much, Tracy.
Thanks, Heather.
Well, the time now is about 15 minutes before the top of the hour. And younger and more violent, MS-13 working harder to infiltrate America as the Trump administration cracks down on the vicious gang.
It is the policy of this administration to dismantle, decimate, and eradicate MS-13.
Our next guest is a former sheriff from an area known as a hotbed for MS-13 activity, while he says that President Trump's plan is a winning strategy. And apparently a magazine cover wasn't enough praise for Colin Kaepernick. How the anthem kneeler is being celebrated.